Hey, what's up, guys? This is Dan again, and rolling into 2019. This is my new desktop setup along with my Razer Blade laptop, which is sadly the previous gen already. This thing was the new quote unquote style literally like 2 months ago. It's the Mercury edition, and although there is the new style, they didn't change too much. The main addition is the RTX GPUs in them and like Windows Hello, but the processor's still the same, the storage, the memory, so I still love it, but I want to talk about it, and I want to talk about my desktop, and ultimately, let me just mute this, why I'm sticking with 10 series cards in 2019 opposed to the new RTX series. The biggest thing is the price. So, as I recorded in another video, I have a 9900X in this desktop, which, like, not a lot of people have yet. I have yet to see really any other videos reviewing it. I bought it when it came out because it just happened to be around the same time I was building this, and I knew I wanted a great multitasking slash gaming CPU with multiple PCI lanes, and that's why I went with it. So the biggest thing is I knew I was going to be running SLI. I knew I was going to be gaming a lot, and I knew I was going to be needing workstation reliability out of my desktop. So at the same time, I saw the 9900X come out, and I saw it had 44 PCI lanes, and I was like, this is perfect for my build, and I went with it, and I have no regrets. The thermals are great. It's very similar to a 7900X, but it has higher wattage. I think the 7900X was 140 watts. This is 165 watts. Overclocks very easily, and it has a higher base clock and highest clock. But at the end of the day, you're probably going to overclock it, so that doesn't really matter. But with this, you have more headroom because of the higher wattage. So I went with the 9900X. It's got 32 gigs of DDR4 Corsair Vengeance at 3.2 gigahertz, and I have two 1080 Ti's and SLI. Why did I go with this opposed to a single 2080 Ti or a 2080 or even a single 1080 Ti? The answer's simple. Price versus performance. For me, this was best of both worlds. If you shop smart, which is what I did, I bought each 1080 Ti used, pretty much brand new. I mean, they sold even the plastic on them. These people barely used them. But I bought them used off Facebook Marketplace, the SC2 for $450 and the reference card on the bottom for $550. Yeah, go figure. The SC2 was less. But for $1,000, I got two pretty much brand new 1080 Ti's. When you factor in what the cost of an RTX 2080 Ti is, if you could even get it, I mean, these things like, I don't know what Nvidia is doing, but you can't even get them. That is one of the best GPUs on the market, if not the best single GPU before the Titans come out. It's like $1,300, $1,400 if you could get it. So for 300 less, 400 less, I got performance that is considerably better, and I'm very happy with that. I mean, a lot of people say SLI, there's micro stuttering, there's no support. Listen, I mainly play AAA games. I've run into zero issues with support. I have no micro stuttering. Maybe that's in thanks to the fact that this has 44 PCI lanes, so it's able to utilize both cards and buy 16 slots with no bandwidth limitations. Each card has unlimited headroom, and it can utilize its fullest potential. I also have the new high bandwidth SLI bridges. Before, people were using the flexible bridges, so there's been a few upgrades. But in order to use both 1080 Ti's to their fullest potential, I needed a CPU and motherboard that supported more than 16 PCI lanes. So if you're thinking, why don't I... Can't talk. Why don't I just get a 9900K instead of a 9900X? A 9900K, like an 8700K or 7700K or 6700K, only has 16 PCI lanes. See where I'm going with this? So if you want to utilize more than a single GPU, because if you only have 16 PCI lanes, all you can really have is a single GPU, because it's going to utilize all those lanes. If you add another one, it's going to cut it in half to 8x8, and then you're losing bandwidth and performance, especially if you have a high performance card. So if you want multiple GPUs and an NVMe storage and a slot or two, you're going to need more than 16 lanes. That's why I went with the 9900X over the 9900K. I get more cores, more threads because of hyper-threading. So it's 8 cores versus 10 cores, or 10 threads, or 16 threads versus 20 threads. And it's just a beautiful workstation slash gaming compromise. So I'm able to utilize, like I said, both cards in fullest potential. It has more wattage, so it overclocks very easily. The thermals are fantastic. During gaming, they never exceed like mid to high 60s. And it runs overclocked at 4.5, 4.6 gigahertz at 1.3 volts, no problem. And that's actually on the higher side, 1.3. I think I could easily get it up to like 4.85 if I really tried. But right now, I'm just happy with the performance. It's running stable, so I'm going to leave it. But real quick, I'll show you guys. This is before. All right, here we go. This is what my GPU's at stock clocks. So I'm breaking 50K in regular Firestrike on the graphics score. And at 4.5 gigahertz, I'm getting 25.5, sometimes 26 physics score, which is awesome. Over 31K Firestrike score with this combination. Only one thing is overclocked, and that's the 9900X. So, very happy with the performance. That's why I went with the 1080s versus the RTX series. And that's why I went with the 9900X versus the K, because I like the extra cores, I like the extra workstation capabilities, and I like the extra PCI lanes. You won't get more than 16 PCI lanes with the K series processor. Now, just to show you guys, I play 4K. This is a beautiful 4K build. It could easily achieve 100 FPS at 4K, but I have a 60 hertz monitor because, as you know, there's not a lot of options for 4K above 60 hertz. I mean, they have that Asus monitor that's like $1,800, but I really don't need above 60 hertz. So as you can see, it's a 4K full ultra. Everything fully maxed out as far as I could go with it. And it's constantly pinned at 60 FPS. When I did the Shadow of the Tomb Raider benchmark with this build, it got around 80 FPS, and that's a brand new AAA title. And that really pushed it, but it worked out. It worked out perfectly. I mean, it beat a single RTX 2080 Ti and 4 less. That's the biggest thing. Another thing is, I really don't see the difference between 60 hertz and 144 hertz. I know a lot of people say 144 hertz is ideal. You know, if you're a competitive gamer, you shouldn't get 60 hertz. It's all technology. Dude, I see no difference whatsoever. And if you think I'm bullshitting, I have no reason to. This is a 144 hertz panel right here. It's a great panel, but I mean, personally, I take eye candy in surrealism and being immersed in the gaming experience over a higher refresh rate. The biggest thing for me is the fact that it has to say pinned at 60 FPS. Even a single 1080 Ti wasn't able to swing a full pinned 60 FPS. So of course it's higher. If it's staying pinned, it's probably around like 80 to 100 FPS, but it plays every game at fully maxed 4K phenomenally, pinned at 60 FPS. And yeah, of course there's a few FPS I'm not utilizing, but this is going forward. When they do make new panels with higher refresh rates, that FPS will be utilized, and when the hardware gets old, you know, I still have some headroom, so whoops, that's why I went with that. As you can see, the temps are here, which are cool. It rarely breaks like mid-60s, like I said, so it runs cool, even overclocked. The performance is phenomenal, and since I turned my build around and I adjusted my fans, the temps got better. So I know I was only gaming for 2 seconds there, but you know, take my word for it, it doesn't break mid-60 Cs. As you can see, all cores hit 4.5 gigahertz, which is awesome, and GPU temps are much better now. After like an hour of gaming, these don't break high 70s, and this doesn't break high 60s. So very happy with the performance, very happy with the temps. If you utilize and know about PCI Express lanes, the 9900X is phenomenal. If you go a step above, then it starts getting out of hand. Like the price is, you're spending $2,000 on a 9980X or whatever the next step is. It's like, it's so much money to get the 8 extra cores that you're probably not going to utilize. But this was like the perfect in between for me, and that's why I went with two 1080 Ti's over a single RTX card, because the performance destroys the best single RTX card for less. Period. So, moving over to this brings me to a similar situation. I woke up this morning, to my dismay, I saw they're releasing RTX. What you talk about, Willis? Come here. Go to mommy. They're releasing all the new laptops with RTX cards. Period. So I was like, son of a bitch. I just bought this beautiful Razer like 3 months ago, and it was the top of the line. It has a 8750H, which is fortunately still relevant. I'm still going to be using those. 16 gigs DDR4, 2667 megahertz, 512 SSD. The only thing that's really going to change is the GPUs. Yeah, they'll add Windows Hello and a few other small things, but that's the biggest change, the RTXs. So initially I'm like, son of a bitch, I just bought this. It's got a 1070, which is great. It plays every new game at full max 1080p. But I was like, shit, should I sell it and get an RTX card? But here's why I'm not going to do anything yet. I want to show you guys how this thing performs. So currently, Battlefield 5, clearly, I have it at 1080p, fully maxed out. Resolution scale's 100, blah, blah, blah. Ultra, 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 ultra. Okay, so everything's fully maxed out 1080p. Let's bring up the FPS. Excuse me, I'm typing with one hand. Overlay. Dot. Draw. FPS. Space 1. This is how you show FPS without an overlay, if you want to, in Battlefield. So it says true, it means it registered, and then it comes up in the top right. Alright, so now let's go in game real quick. So real quick, do you guys hear this thing already? This is how it sounds while I'm not even playing. I know I'm in game, and that counts for something, but I'm not even playing the game yet, and it's audible. Does it get to the point where it's like unbearable? No, because 99% of the time you're going to have volume on, and it's going to overwhelm the sound of the fans. But all I'm going to say to you guys is this is currently not in gaming mode. Gaming mode increases the wattage on the CPU, and it increases the clocks on the GPU. So the 8750H goes from like 45 watts to like 90 watts, and the 1070 goes from like a core clock of like 1600 or like 15 and change megahertz and 2000 megahertz memory clock to like 1700's core clock and like 2150 memory clock, which is pretty damn good. That's like desktop status, almost. So the performance is there, but my point is this is currently undervolted and it's not in gaming mode. And I'm going to show you guys the temps and how it runs. How it runs is not the issue, to be honest. The performance is there. It's a beautiful laptop. It looks good. It's got an LG screen, 144 hertz, thin bezels. It's a thin and light, and it plays AAA titles at ultra settings. Great. What more can you ask for? The thing is just compromise, really. You're not going to get ultimate performance and desktop thermals. A lot of people see the thermals on these laptops like, whoa, it's way too high. You can't run like that. You get send that back. You could waste as much time as you want sending them back and RMAing them. You're going to get these thermals. Just get used to it. So now my mindset is, come on, Battlefield, what the fuck is going on here? Oh, I didn't even hit play. I'm a fucking scrub. So my point is, I'm going to show you the thermals with a 1070 and an 8750H. When these come out, they plan on putting a 2080 in the same chassis. They plan on putting a 2080 Max Q in here. When these come out with that and the same CPU, it's going to run hotter. Mark my words, it's going to run hotter unless they completely neuter it. I mean, like, the card's going to be neutered. We know that because look how big a 2080 desktop card is and how much cooling it needs. So a Max Q version, they're going to really reduce the clocks, and they're really going to reduce the wattage. So before I buy them, I would really look into the benchmarks, but once this thing loads, I could show you guys how it performs and what the temps are. I should have just went to single player. Ultimately, the laptop's great. Like I said, this was the higher tier version, the advanced model. So it's got per key chroma lighting. It sounds great. It's got good bass for what it is. The screen's great. It could be a little brighter. It's around 300 nits, but you know, I'm used to desktops with like 350, 400 nit brightness, so it could be a little brighter, but it's an LG screen. The quality's there, the clarity's there. You know, everything else is great. It works as intended. The clocks are good on the CPU. It hits 4.1 gigahertz, which is great for a 6-core laptop processor. And even packing a 1070 in here, I was impressed. So I'm really curious to see how an RTX card is going to perform. Alright, so now we're in. I can show you guys a little gameplay. I forgot how long it takes to enter a game, man. I should have just went to single player. Alright, so 1080p ultra settings. It does good. This is not in gaming mode. In gaming mode, I'll get like at least 10 more FPS. So in non-gaming mode, I'm hitting mid-70s, no problem. I'm not playing with a mouse, so bear with me here. I'm just trying to show you guys a little overview. So the nice thing about this is what the volume sounds like. This is max volume. Currently I'm at 90 FPS, 87, which is pretty awesome. So I know Battlefield is well optimized, but my point is, even with the 1070, the performance on this laptop is there. It performs great. Every new game it plays, 1080p full ultra, like 80 to 100 FPS. Sounds good, looks good. That's really what I wanted to show you, but now let me get to this. Alt F4, get out of here. This is with an undervolt applied. Whoops. So the highest I could go, or the lowest I could go, I should say, is negative 0.14 pretty much through throttle stop. And what that does is cut back on some power to the CPU, thus reducing the temps. So even with an undervolt and not in gaming mode, I was hitting low 90C. The cores hit 4.1 gigahertz, which is pretty good. You know, I'm happy about that. That's pretty good. But look, even the 1070 topped out at 85C. Dude, that's warm. I mean, it's not the end of the world. Like, these things are designed for it, especially the new Intel processors. They could hit 100C and not explode. But don't expect to buy a new RTX laptop with an 8750H and get temps better than this, because it's not going to happen. That's just the nature of the beast. I would personally wait and look at a bunch of benchmarks and see how things are going, because your 8750H is going to get at least this hot during gaming. Mark my words. If I turn it on gaming mode, it'll hit high 90s, if not 100C in throttle. Yo, what are you doing? So I'm really curious to see how it's going to happen. At first, like I said, I thought about selling this and immediately going to an RTX laptop, but come to think of it, I think the only way they're going to stuff these GPUs in one of these thin and lights is to really cut back on performance. So I'm very curious to see what it's going to be like, but this is what I would do for the time being. Stick to the 1080 series because they're playing every current game at max resolution, no problem. Even the 1070 in this case with the most current processor. And keep in mind that 1080p, a lot of it's on the CPU. So this currently has the same CPU that's going to be rolled over. But other than that, that's why I'm going to stick with the 1080 series because they're still killing it. And performance is still there. So, think about that before you dive into the RTXs. And with that, thank you for watching.